So today we are going to try something a bit special. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be cracking open one of the most talked about new launches in Singapore, Hudson Place Residences in Media Circle. So personally, I've really invested in this area, something that I really believe in, something that I'm putting my monies into. So watch on to find out my analysis on Hudson Place. So we have 5 developers for this, which is pretty unique. It's a joint venture with Qingjian, 4C Holdings, CYZ Land and Jianan Capital. So 327 units we can see over here. Site area span across about 82,000 square feet. So pretty decent kind of land plot lah. 99 years leasehold, and it's expected to TOB around September 2029. So I believe the price tag is something that is really very attractive, which is why investors are taking a double take in this area. So I will show you later on which are the units I would personally go for and which units to avoid. So let's go into the area of Hudson Place. We can see that Hudson is in the midst of all this, all your workspaces, and we are very near to 1 North as well as Margaret Drive area. So 1 North as well as your Queenstown, Queensway area. So I think if you know of Queenstown, there's this development called Penrith, averaging around 2008 PSF. So just last year. And 1 North itself, Hudson's direct competitor would be Bloomsbury. So this is relatively near to 1 North. Walking distance wise, it would be about 12 to 15 minutes. But of course, the developers have kindly provided, I think, about 2 years worth of shuttle to the MRT. So at least it's maybe a bit easier. So let's look into Media Circle specifically. I think this is what I would call an emerging area. So if you have driven past, you can see that Grab MediaCorp headquarters are over here. Empty plots are slowly being carved up as well. So our government is actually slowly and steadily rezoning this entire area for residential usage since 2019. So they are releasing more plots slowly, one by one, not flooding the market at one time lah. So I think what makes this area very interesting is that JTC is actually building a Kampong AI that is ready by 2028. So what this translates to is a wave of AI sector is actually moving into this area. So it will heavily support your rental demand, as well as more people looking to buy into this area, especially if they are working nearby. Because I think if you work in this area, means you technically just need to walk like 10 minutes or less to your workspace, which might be something that professionals are looking for. Yeah. So of course, we should never really just buy something just purely based off your rental projection, and depending on which angle you're going for as an investor, is it more for capital appreciation or is it more for rental yield? So 2 negatives in this area, it's definitely not a school zone. Family demand might not be as strong as perhaps areas like your Queenstown, your Red Hill, your Tiong Bahru area. But of course, when there's always pros and cons to everything, right? When you're near near school zones, potentially you can see that the price point for those areas, like Queenstown is going for 2008 PSF. If I'm able to get Hudson around 2004 PSF for something that is only a 5 minutes drive, potentially Hudson is something you can look for. And yeah, so buyer pool wise, perhaps this is not as family friendly for now. You are still quite near to your NUS, which is a university, your ACJC, Fairfield Methodist, but this will be all beyond 1 kilometers, right? Your ACS, Singapore Polytechnic, SIT. So still an educational cluster, but we are beyond 1 kilometer from that. So if you are someone that fancies the Dempsey area, like I personally do, you're also a very short drive away. So from your Orchard area as well. And I think when the MRT line is fully opened up, 1 North area, and a new MRT line that's potentially coming up very nearby would bring you to CBD a lot more quickly. Okay, so before I continue yapping on, right, this is actually the price matrix that we have gotten from developers. We can see that the starting prices for all the units are actually super attractive. You can see your 2-bed 2 baths going for starting from about 1.48, your 3 bedrooms around about 2 mil. So let's just take an average PSF of about 2005. This is potentially the prices that we will be looking at for all the unit sizes, right? Okay. So let's just go into unit by unit. I think this is the part that maybe everyone is more or less looking forward to. So in this specific layout, it's a 646 square feet unit. I think starting prices will be from 1.4 to an average of about 1.65 mil. So even with this kind of price matrix, we can look at this layout. And this layout is something that I believe is very decent. You can actually get a enclosed, a tucked-away kitchen for this kind of layout. And this is a very sweet spot for this launch because the quantum is something that we don't really see anymore. especially since this is in the RCR region. So RCR region is the rest of central region of Singapore, city fringe. You are not exactly at the city centre, but you're close enough to the city centre. And in fact, in areas outskirts of Singapore, we are already looking at this kind of price quantum for a 2-bed, 2-bath unit. And before we get into anything else, we can see that the layouts are very livable. You can fit in a queen-size bed efficiently, potentially even have tools, one-side table, still a decent walkway for your wardrobes. And the master bedroom, you're able to fit in 2-side tables in this. Living room wise, we can see that it's a 2.8 meters from your sofa to your TV. So everything in this layout, there's nothing much to complain about lah. Yeah. Then let's look at the 2+ study layout. So this 2+ study layout is also a dumbbell layout. I like dumbbell layouts because I believe that it's a lot more efficient compared to a traditional layout where usually both units are tucked away, so your walkway is a little bit more or less, I would say, wasted space. So nowadays, I think most people, they are more open to the concept of dumbbell layouts, which makes it a lot more, again, efficient. And in this area, right, we can see that actually this study is something that is pretty special because you can potentially fit in a single bed, which can double up as perhaps your helper's room, right? And usually all studies come with an aircon inside, so at least the space is a bit more livable compared to a household shelter. But let's say you don't want to use it as a helper's room, then this area can be perhaps your storage area or somewhere that you can work from home. So I think for rental purposes, this is kind of like a semi 3-bedder lah. Right, some agents will market it as a 3-bedder. It's not a 3-bedder, but it's kind of like the in-between a 2-bed and a 3-bed. Okay, this layout, frankly speaking, I think this is one of my favorite layouts. Nowadays, we get very compact 3-bedders, right? It's going at 893 square feet. I think the starting from price will be potentially around 2 million to an average of about 2.3, 2.4 mil for this. Personally, I think that this quantum is still something that is quite digestible, especially in today's market, right? I think at 2 to 2.3, you are not really able to get many options. There are still probably less than 50 units on the market that's available in maybe locations that are not as favorable as well. So this 3-bedroom layout, it comes with a pretty small study, I would say, but layout-wise, standard. You have your traditional layout where all the bedrooms are tucked away in one side. Your living and dining area is more of like a horizontal layout lah. So some people, they also prefer when your door opens, doesn't open directly into your living dining area. So maybe some people will prefer for this layout. And just to know, all the walls are actually hackable. So if you want to play around with the space, you're able to based off this specific layout. And in the resale market right now, in this one-off area, we can see that the price points have already hit this or even higher. So it's definitely a very safe entry because you're getting a brand new one for a resale price. So 3-bed plus premium plus study won't bore you with the layout details anymore, but averaging from 2.5 to 2.6 million, this difference would be your household shelter. Definitely a slightly bigger kitchen that comes with both your dry and wet kitchen, right? You have a proper study over here. You also get your yard and WC behind. So potentially this layout might fit a family a bit better compared to your compact 3-bedder. Because if you have like a helper, 2 kids, I would say go for this 1055 layout. Still pretty compact, but at least more livable. Don't need to fight for space with everyone else. So the 4-bedroom, this one, the pricing wise will be around 3 million. The 4+ study will be going for around 3.65 million. And there are 5 and 6 bedrooms, but I'm not going to touch on that because I think those are a little bit overkill. I think at the car price tag, you are up against your landed properties, your high-end city options, like those developments in the city. You probably can get something nearer to Orchard, Holland Village. So for those, I think the exit might be a little bit questionable. So if you were to ask me, I think your 2-bedroom layouts are something that is worth considering. 2+ study as well. But of course, it also depends down to on that day itself. It's best to always have a walkaway price in mind. Your compact 3-bedder is also something to look at. Anything else above can be thought a little bit better. Yeah. So if we go directly into numbers, the land bid for Hudson Place comes at a level where developers' break-even price will likely be looking around your $1,800 per square foot. So we are expecting a launch price of around 2,005 on average. We don't look into high floor, low floors lah, but on average, it's going to be about 2005. Whatever I've indicated previously is definitely something that is on the slightly lower floor. So if we look into surrounding comparables, we can see that your direct comparable is actually Bloomsbury Residences. This was something that is launched just last year, around this time period as well, April 2025. So this actually launched for 2474 PSF. Now it's about 90% sold. Linden Woods is nearer to Kent Ridge area. This one also launched around 2,450 per square foot, 94% pick up. Yeah, so really strong demand, right? You have your NUH nearby. This entire area, government is revamping it. There's a lot of workspaces. They are decentralizing workforces in the entirety of Singapore. Blossoms by the Park. This development is fully sold out lah, basically. But back then, when they launched, it's also around 2004. Of course, this plot is definitely nearer to your Buona Vista MRT, but you will get your highway noise, your main road noise, sorry. And if we are looking at a Dover land bid just concluded recently, and that is one of the, I would say, remaining RCR plots that will be coming up to break the barrier of 3,000 lah. Okay, let's go back to just touch a little bit more on the rental demand. This rental demand for 2 bedrooms, we are estimating about 6,500 for a 2-bed, which I believe will be able to cover your mortgage. For 3 beds, about 8,200, 4 beds around 8,900, and this is based off whatever has already been transacted in the one-off area. So for something generally in Singapore, rental demand is around 2.5% for condominiums, and that is on higher end already. So if you are able to get something for about 3.81 to 4.46, of course, if let's say you want to carve out, be creative and carve out like the study as 1 bedroom to do a more co-living concept, potentially your rental can also be a bit higher. And this is also depending on what kind of price you're entering at. If you're entering at, we are assuming you're entering at the higher end of the PSF matrix at about 2007. So if you're able to enter at about 2-3 PSF, that is something you can potentially consider, because this land plot is actually the last land plot, I believe, that is still considerably on a lower end, a cheaper end of the price tag. Everything is going to correct from July onwards this year. So it might reset the entire benchmark pricing across the entire of Singapore. And since Hudson Residence is in the RCR region, typically the prices won't taper off too far from the average of your RCR developments. So if we just look into other recent OCR transactions, we can see that Park Clementi area, not near MRT as well, has already hit about 2006 PSF. Lentor Modern Integrated has already hit 2005, closer to 2006. But of course, this area is considered the outskirts of Singapore. AMO also. Seaside Residences have hit about 2007. D15, granted it's D15. Your Sky Eden has also hit about 2598. So if you are buying at a pricing much below your sub-sale prices that have already transacted, this one is not new developments as well. There are sub-sale units of new launches in those areas. You are kind of entering at something that is a very safe and low risk area, and besides that, one-off area is rapidly developing, so you are really the first movers advantage of that area. Because usually when we are saying first movers advantage, let's say in areas like Lentor back then, right, when Lentor Modern first launched, it was the first plot, but now Lentor pricing has really caught up, so your future launches might not be as cheap as before. But of course, Hudson Place is the second one in this area. There are some other land plots around, so you will really be entering at a first mover's point of view. So just in summary, why Hudson Place is able to launch at such an attractive price tag of 2002-2003 is because they actually bought the land for only 1,000 per square feet per plot ratio. If we look into all the upcoming Thomson Reserve, Teluk Blangah, Dorset, Amber, around Holland area, Tanjong Rhu, Dover Place, this one we are expecting the break-even to be beyond 3,000. And these are all areas that we are comparing to if we are entering into Hudson Place. So, Vela Bay, this has really launched, I believe about 2008 to 2009. And this is in the OCR region. If you are entering into Hudson Place at 2003 PSF to 2005, it's still a 300 per square foot difference. Essentially, if you're going for 700, 700 is a lie. Okay, if you're going for 1,000 square feet unit, which is the compact 3-bed, right? $300 per square foot difference essentially makes it a 300,000 quantum difference when you're looking to exit. So to put it all into everything together, personally, I will go for the 2-bed plus study or the 3-bed come back with. Yeah. Anything else, we will need to see the prices that they are launching at. And yeah, so based off Hudson's positioning, I believe we are entering at somewhere where it's really pretty safe. Everything will have a new benchmark, a new price ceiling in the coming months. So if you are looking to enter, maybe not into Hudson's place, our top 3 developments, all these inventory are constantly changing. It's updated every single week, every other few days, every other few days. Yes. So yeah, if you have any further questions on this, if you want to know more about other launches breakdown, drop your questions in the comment and let me know which other developments you want me to do an analysis on. Yeah. Thank you. See you again. Bye.